Now, a board member of the Bank of Ghana, Professor Eric Osei-Sibe, says an economy like that of Ghana's makes it difficult for the country to avoid borrowing. He says the issue is not really about the borrowing, but rather must be about interest payment. He suggests Ghana must concentrate on its expenditure if it wants to control how much of its revenue the country uses to defray its debt. He was speaking at the Graphic Stomach Bank breakfast meeting Wednesday morning.
First, you have to look at the size of the cake, and then you have to look at what your needs are, right? And so living within your means, meaning that you have to cut your coat according to the size of it. What? So it's essentially being able to match your revenue, or your expenditure to your revenue, so that at all times you have to make sure that you spend not more than the revenue that you have generated. But sometimes it's difficult, for a country like ours, where there's so much pressure, on government to provide certain key amenities, road building, hospitals, schools, and all the other things. And so when you look at the cake alone, it will mean that we will not be able to do a lot of things. So governments sometimes are forced to then spend more than the size, the cake, or the size of your cloth, as you said. And that will mean that you have to go out there to borrow to supplement the revenues that you have collected. And that has been the bane of the economy. The fact that we don't generate much, we don't mobilize enough revenue, and we seem to be very expansive in terms of our expenditure. Our fiscal policy is too expansive. We spend, we like there's so much appetite to spend, and without looking at the revenue, the size of the cloth. So over the years, we've been doing that, and we've been having debt accumulation. The issue is not about the debts or the size of the debt, because every country borrows, right? The key issue that we have is about the interest payments. Yeah. The interest payment, where you are paying or you are using about 50% of your tax revenue in paying interest. Then how much do you have to do other things? Because you are paying also salaries, which take close to also about 50%, and then the statutory payment. So at the end of the day, the true tax revenue, compensation, and then your interest payment takes more than 100% of your tax revenue. So any excess expenditure will mean that you have to borrow. And mind you haven't talked about goods and services, that you need to do investment in the ministries and all those kind of things. You haven't talked about capital expenditure, that you need to build roads and those schools and all of that. So these two, you have to borrow to be able to service it. So living within your means is really a difficult concept for us, given the size of the cake that we have.
Now, road users of the Bole-Sola-Wa Highway are worried about the delay in fixing the highway. Portions of the stretch have bituminous surface replete with port and manholes, causing accidents and damaging part of vehicles. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports that though government secured $150 million to fund the project, there's nothing to show for it yet.
Majority Leader in Parliament, Osei Chairman Sobonsu, at a Thanksgiving service for Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumanakins for Gabin, made an emphatic statement about government's plan to rehabilitate this road.
Government has agreed and indeed secured a facility of $250 million United States dollars to construct the road from in fact, to better put in shape the road from Bole-Sola up to Wa. It's $250 million. And I believe that in the next couple of months, you will see that the Minister for Roads and Highways will be here to do the commissioning of the project. The first part that has been secured is $150 million.
It's been exactly 60 months since the Majority Leader of Parliament, Osei Chairman Sobonsu, made the announcement on government's plan to fix the over 200 kilometers Bole-Sola-Wa Highway. Since then, there have not been an inch of blade of improvement on the road. The cruel reality, however, is that the road has further deteriorated with the bituminous surface paving way for pot and manholes. One could at least count a dozen in a 20-meter stretch. What's more, some portions of the road that developed pot and manholes were screeded off for easy passage of vehicles. However, the pot and manholes have now resurfaced, so work done is equal to zero. Residents living closer to the road and commuters now bear the brunt of the dust, bumpy and deplorable road.
A little over 2 years ago, they came and scraped certain portions of the road, as you can see. We thought that as soon as they did the scraping, they were going to come to fix it and to put bitumen. Unfortunately, more than 1 year, getting to 2 years down the line, we are not seeing anything, and it's just affecting us. A journey that normally would take 30 minutes takes you 1.5 hours to complete. It's so frustrating. And for us, those using very small cars, it just, you keep changing your parts every now and then. You hit your car, sometimes you have to go to the sprayers. It's so terrible.
From Kumasi to Wa, we are supposed to do half a day. But now for the past 3 days, I have been on this road. What is worrying us are the potholes. If you don't take time, you will hit a pothole and land in the bush.
Motorists and commercial tricycle operators are not also spared either. The deplorable nature of the road has led to several of them, in an attempt to avoid a collision with an incoming vehicle, fell off in the bush.
Most of us, the time that you program yourself to go for programs, you end up getting there very late. Also, vehicles have been knocking down people because of the way the road is. Everybody is trying to dodge and go to the good side, and all the drivers and the pedestrians are always competing for where the good side is, and at the end, they all get involved in accidents.
The Bola Solawa Highway is part of the National Highway 12, or N12, which starts at the country's border with Ivory Coast in the western region and ends at Hamili in the Upper West region. Though the Bola Solawa Highway is located in the Savannah region, it is mostly used by travelers from the Upper West region and other West African countries, especially Burkina Faso. Passengers who ply the highway oftentimes are subjected to attacks from marauding armed robbers, leading to many dead and others maimed for life. They appeal to the government to fix the road to ease their frustrations and sufferings.
And sometimes armed robbers also take advantage of the situation, especially when you get to a place that you cannot speed. They will, because they know that you cannot speed, they will just get you there and rob you of your personal belongings.
Okay, so what appeal do you have for government now?
What I want to tell central government is that we are begging them. This is a tourism hub for, I think, the Savannah region and also very close to the Upper West region. We want to appeal to them to try to fix our roads for us, to try to fix the roads for us.
My appeal to the government and majority leader is that at least they should fast track to work on this road. It is actually an eyesore, and people are suffering here. And over 1 year now, they made a promise and nothing is happening on this road. I'm appealing to the government to expedite action so that this road can be fixed and pedestrians and passengers will pass without any accidents.
Until that happens, they will continue to inhale the dust that envelop their communities and drive on the bumpy, deplorable road in pain and at a snail's pace. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Kolmaha.
Quite difficult for drivers to ply that road. Let's see, government must attend to it as they promised the year of roads for us Ghanaians. But moving on to other stories, she abandoned the child and the husband after he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And for 2 years, the single father has been battling poverty and stigma while taking care of his son. My colleague Emmanuel Jivenu traveled to the home at Mafi Adidome in the Central Town District of the Volta region and our reports.
4 years ago, the cry of a newborn baby brought Martin and his wife immense joy. They could not contain the joy of being first-time parents. But that excitement ebbed away a year on. Their bundle of joy could not function properly.
He can't stand on his own, sit or catch up, not talking. The neck falls and goes back like that, unless you have to support him. He was diagnosed of cerebral palsy. Yeah, so as he's growing after 2 years, he is not responding. Though he understands when you talk, I feel like performing the action, but realize all the muscles, everything, that are weak. He can't stand on his own, sit down, do anything. Even the talking wasn't coming. So I took him back to the hospital for a proper checkup. So that is where he was diagnosed that no, it's a cerebral palsy.
Despite having little knowledge of cerebral palsy, Martin was troubled by the news and worried about how to care for his son. He recounts how everything took a downward turn and eventually his wife abandoned him and the child. His wife's family claimed he had jinxed his own son.
The family of the mother were giving the pressure to her that what a baby she has given birth to and the baby can't respond to anything like that. So he should find a way of leaving the child. So they claimed myself and my family bewitched the boy. That is why the boy is like that. So they've given her pressure, a lot of pressure. So she have to leave the child and go. That is 2 years. So after that I have to take over. Because myself, I don't have a family. My mom is not alive, who can take care of him for me. So I took up the responsibility myself as a mother, at the same time as a father. So I do everything a woman does to take care of the baby. That is what I do. In the section of only not breastfeeding, that is but whatever a woman does to take care of the baby, I do all these things myself. And at the same time, playing the role of a father. When I wake up, the normal duties, household duties that I have to perform. When you also wake up, then I have to take him out, bath him. After bathing, I massage a bit, then I feed him. So after feeding, I have to come out with him or be inside the room, we watch TV small, I play with him a bit before I can come back to the kitchen or maybe watch his clothes, and then I take a rest a bit.
According to Martin, his son, whom he named Martins Jr., was not born with cerebral palsy, but that the symptoms were detected soon after his first birthday. Martins Jr. is 4 years old now. He has a slack neck and stiff muscles, which make movement difficult. He can barely do anything for himself. Martin, worried about his son's condition, sought remedies from several health facilities and even tried herbalists, but all to no avail. Taking care of children with cerebral palsy can be overwhelming. It is virtually a 24-hour job. Martins Jr. needs a lot of attention at home. He also needs to visit the hospital for medical checkup, as well as physiotherapy. Martin says, as a single father, although he feels blessed to have a child, the boy has also put a heavy burden on him.
It's really tough getting the money to buy, taking care of him, the medicines alone. Talk less of buying diaper and his food. Yes, it's really a hell for me. Back then I have some small money that I've saved. That is what I was using, going up and down to the hospital for physio, because every week I have to go for physiotherapy. That was the money I was using. But later on, as it got finished, to have to depend on friends, asking them they should give me money to take care of the boy.
A good social welfare system could support him to give his son the best care. Unfortunately, he's also burdened with ridicule and stigma from his community.
They've given me back names. They call me Kangaroo because I always carry him in front of me in a career. Though it really hurts me, it disturbs me because psychologically, emotionally, I'm traumatized. Yes. So a lot of things come into my mind. I can't bear it alone. It's just too much for me. It's just too much for me. Because when I sit, sometimes I feel like, let me also leave him and go. Yeah. Let me also leave him and go because it's just too much. Taking care of him is just too much.
But Martin's love for his son overrides the public mockery and rejection. He admits that it's not easy to keep prying eyes away from his life and to drown his mystery. Martin has chosen to stay indoors with his son, listening to music.
You love me too much, too much, excess now.
Martin is a trained teacher from the University of Education, Winneba. He had to quit all jobs to be close to the son. His only source of income is this motorbike his friend gave him. To put food on the table for his son daily, Martin leaves his son indoors for some hours so that he can ride the bike and make some money.
Though for security reasons, I don't lock him up. I open the door down. Yeah, with the sense that maybe something might be happening to him in the room, then anybody passing by can rescue him as I'm out of the house. Yes, so I don't lock him inside the room. No.
Let me wake and come, okay? What TV, Len? Okay? Len, I beg, I'm coming, okay? When I'm coming, I'll buy you something nice, okay? I'll buy you yogurt. Behave yourself, okay? Let me wake and come. Follow.
The thought of his child all alone troubles him anytime he rides away. Due to this, Martin refuses long-distance rides.
If I go out with a motorbike, it's not anything I get. If I get the maximum money I get is maybe 30 cedis for it. And from that 30 cedis, I'm going to buy his food, buy petrol from it again so that I can maintain the machine and go back to the next time So it's something that I feel that I'm being wicked to myself. Yes, in doing all this. Yes, because nobody seems to care for us.
The cause of cerebral palsy is unknown, but genetic abnormalities, congenital brain, maternal infections, and fetal injuries are associated with the condition. Although there are no official statistics on the number of children with the disorder, Cerebral Palsy Africa estimates that 1 child in every 300 births has the condition in Ghana. Martin has a wish that will ease the burden of raising his son alone.
My wish is to get a computer shop that I can be doing printing, photocopy, typing, and the rest. Then also train students who have finished school and want to learn IT. Those who have finished from GSS, SS, yes, and anybody in the society or the community who want to learn or know about IT computer, because I believe these days everything now is IT, yes, computing. So that is my wish now. Then whatever I get, the money I get from there, I wish to support Hillary.
But for now, Martin continues to shower his son with love, hoping life smiles at them one day. Emmanuel Juvenis reports for Joy Prime.
That's a very emotional report there by Jivenu. But let's go into the Zoom now and speak to some people on the back of this. Hannah Oji is Executive Director for the Special Mothers Project. Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. We also have Dr. Hilda Boy, who is a pediatrician at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Good morning, Doc.
Morning.
Let me start with you, Hannah. What's your reaction to this very emotional story you watched there?
Okay. Yes, it's very emotional, but Martin's case is just one of the stories that have come up on the media. I meet with thousands of families in Accra and beyond that have this condition, that have this situation that they are dealing with at home, and nobody seems to care. There are no policies. So it's just people dealing with it in their own corner. We are lucky when we get cases out like this, so that at least it gets to people's attention and government gets to know that this is happening.
Okay. But how's the state? You said we hope that government gets to hear and know that something must be done. But how's the state helping in terms of welfare for kids such as this?
Okay, so in Ghana now, with my last checks, there is no concrete policy for children with cerebral palsy in Ghana. We do policies without them. We are leaving them behind. Now there's an attempt. So they are trying to review the early childhood care and development policy, which now centers on the child with disabilities. We have the inclusive education policy, which exists on paper but doesn't work. So in terms of what is there, what the state is doing for children with cerebral palsy and by extension other disabilities, nothing exists. It is you, the family, and your God.
Interesting. But can you help us with some more experiences? You mentioned that there are some more people you do encounter every now and then. What are these experiences?
Their experiences are similar to what we saw with Martin. So I get to meet them because I have a support group called the Special Mothers Project, which was started about 7 years ago when I had a daughter who is now 9 years with cerebral palsy. I faced the same challenges that Martin faced. I couldn't work. I was backed down with the child. And I realized the support system, the lack of support system is a big thing that we don't even have conversations about. In Ghana, we have conversations about everything, but about the family unit and about our children, those important conversations seems to be on the back burner. So this is how I get to meet families. Because I have a support group, I am very loud on Facebook and others. Parents come to me. We have an online WhatsApp platform with a lot of parents who share some of these experiences, similar to what Martin is experiencing. And you don't know where to turn to as a parent.
Good to hear that because while I was watching this, I was asking myself, so where can Martin really get the support to help? Because he really painted a picture that things are very difficult, and we saw it in the narration there. How can someone living far off like that get access to, your support?
So Martin, I know Martin. I call him Madam. Martin is a member of the Special Mothers Project. He's been on our platform for over 2 years.
Okay.
We've done a few things to support him, and we also have pushed him a bit in the media space to get people to know his story. So he's a member of the Special Mothers Project. It has members all over Ghana, from the North, Ashanti region, Eastern region, wherever, where we meet on WhatsApp most of the time and share our frustrations, but also encourage ourselves and see how we can together advocate for the government to hear our cry.
Hannah, hold for me. Let me bring in Dr. Hilda Boy now. I'll come back to you. Doc, so you are in the medical profession. I'm sure you do encounter some of these things. How widespread is it? Although we know there are no statistics, but you are in the field. I'm sure you know how regular or unregular it is. So help us understand how regular this is.
Okay, I think you already gave a few statistics when you did the presentation at the beginning. But additionally, I'd say that every week in the hospital now, we see children who are coming for review with cerebral palsy. And at the clinic, at the neuro clinic where I work on Mondays in the hospital, every week we do have children who are coming in as first time diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So it is something that we see, unfortunately, often in the hospital.
Wow. We don't know what causes it, but are there conditions that probably could lead one to getting the child having this condition?
Yes, so there are. So some of them are things that we cannot actually pinpoint and say that, okay, this is exactly what caused it. But there are some children who are born with it, as in they have certain things in the brain that has caused them to develop a cerebral palsy. We also have some children who will have what we call hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, or asphyxia in simple terms. That is, during the process of the delivery, they did not get enough oxygen right after birth. And so as a result of that, the brain suffers some damage, and as they grow, they will develop the cerebral palsy. And that is also a group that we can easily prevent. Children who have severe neonatal jaundice, that is when they become yellow or have the yellow eyes and yellow skin around the time of birth, the neonatal jaundice, when it's very severe, also predisposes or causes a number of them to have cerebral palsy. And some years ago, when we did a study at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, we found that the neonatal jaundice was actually one of the main, or it was a major cause of cerebral palsy, which was preventable in the hospital. And that's why we've also done quite a lot of advocacy on it. If they have infections that affect the brain, they can also go ahead and develop cerebral palsy.
Well, so even if the last thing you mentioned is probably one of the things that one of the leading causes, and you also tell us that it looks like every week you are getting children with that condition, then it looks like we are not doing something right, isn't it? And what must we do?
What must we do? There is a number of the causes, or there are a number of causes that we may not be able to prevent. But from what I have said, there are also some that we can do something about, like the neonatal jaundice. We can do something about it. When you have your baby, you look out for jaundice in the baby or the yellowing of the eyes and the skin, and you report to hospital. When the baby becomes unwell, like has an infection, has a fever, it should be treated appropriately. Again, the pregnant women should go to hospital. Even before they become pregnant, they should ideally be receiving care in hospital. So the pre-pregnancy care is helpful. When they are pregnant, followed up in hospital, they should deliver in hospital, so that the care that they receive will help to prevent them from having babies who suffer from the asphyxia or the hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy that I mentioned earlier. So these are some of the things that we can do to prevent or reduce the incidence of the cerebral palsy. Again, our healthcare professionals are encouraged to be abreast of the literature and the information in care of the pregnant women, care of the woman during the delivery, care of the baby, helping babies breathe. When babies are born, within the first minute, they should be able to receive the first breath and cry. So all those are things that we need to try and do as health workers to support and prevent babies from suffering from cerebral palsy in the future. Now, when we talk about what we can do, aside these preventive things, when they come in and they have an infection, it's important that we treat it and treat it well to prevent them from developing meningitis or infection around the brain or other complications. And then if we in the hospital find or actually make the diagnosis of the cerebral palsy, it's important that we start the therapy or the supportive things that we can do to improve the life of the child early, so that they do not get worse.
Interesting. I'm sure you saw how Martin is taking care of this child. How must children like his be catered for? How must they be handled?
Pardon me, how much?
How should children like that be taken care of? Is there a special way? How should they? Because Martin is doing it alone.
Okay, so children with cerebral palsy need a lot of love and they need a lot of care. And they are children first before the condition that they have. At the beginning, often will involve the clinical psychologist to help the parents or the caregivers to appreciate the condition that the child has and also help them deal with the condition. Often, many parents feel guilty for the child becoming like that or having the condition. Meanwhile, it's often not their fault, and there was probably nothing they could have done to prevent it. So to help the whole family to settle in, we also will involve the care of the support of the others, like the speech therapist. Some of these children, or many of them, will actually have problems with their speech, and so the speech therapist will help with the speech. So they'll teach the parents what to do, how to help them with the communication.
All right.
Then we have the occupational therapist who will come in to support with the activities of daily living. You know, it's not even all of them who can walk. Many of them will have difficulties moving from one place to the other.
Okay, Doc.
So the occupational therapist will help to support with the activities of daily living. The physical therapist or the physiotherapist will also come in and help with the mobility or the physical, exercise, like moving the joints to prevent the joints from becoming stiff or from them getting contracted.
Okay.
The dietitian also very helpful because they will help to show them their diet. Some of them will have problems swallowing the solids, and so they will need to teach them what to give them to eat, the form it should be in, how to go about the feeding, because some of these children will also have swallowing problems even.
Okay, Doc.
The coughing, they may not be able to cough out if they have anything that is going down the airway. So we try
grateful.
to get these involved to teach them and help them through their journey.
Okay, Doc, thank you very much. That's Dr. Hilda Boy. She is a pediatrician at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Hannah Awoji, what should government do to support people like Martin? In the next 30 seconds.
The government to have centers where children can be kept safely while the family goes to work. Because these children are kept home. Schools are not accepting them. Their parents are locked down. They can't work. And yet all the things that Dr. Hilda Boy said requires money. So how do you go for access health when you can't work? We don't have the centers, and our literature and our communication about these children have merely been very theoretical, not practical. They don't look, they don't see the day to day. I'm showing on the screen my daughter now, sitting at home, working on her computer. She can't walk. The thing is, even me, if I decide to follow through with all the therapies, I will break down as a mother. So something practical needs to be done. Every district assembly should have an inclusive center where a parent can safely leave the child. These therapies are done to them, and then they come back and pick their children. They go work, earn a living. Then the child does not become a burden on the family. The child does not become a burden on society. I have seen productive citizens who live with cerebral palsy because they got the right help. If only we could do that. Start small, get centers, inclusive centers in every school. I think it will be a very good start.
Thank you very much.
What government can do.
Hannah Awoji is Executive Director for the Special Mothers Project. Now, away from that, let's bring you some quite exciting story. After exhibiting his art across some of the world's most respected festivals and museums, Ghanaian artist Ibrahim Mahama has brought his exhibition and talent home to his native Tamale, hoping to inspire the city's next generation of citizens. JoyNews' Justice Beidou went to see his giant studio on the outskirts of the northern regional capital, Tamale, and here is his report.
Tucked away on the outskirts of Tamale, these grounded aircrafts have become a hotbed for tourists. This is Red Clay Studios. These planes have been gathered from different tarmacs and driven through hundreds of miles of roads to get here. They are part of a variety of art installations owned by celebrated Ghanaian artist Ibrahim Mahama.
When I was finishing university, I asked myself, is it possible for me to come back here to establish a studio that could, for instance, inspire younger people?
From villages nearby, children, many of them from very poor homes, come with smiles on their faces to learn about aeroplanes. One of them is 13-year-old Seidu Hadija, whose senior sister fell out of school as a teenager so she could be married off. She's in school now, and with inspiration from her days at Red Clay, wants to stay and become a pilot one day.
We used to see planes flying up in the sky only. Now, we have them here, and we are happy. Because they keep taking us out of school to marry, we can't go to school. When we come here, we learn how an aeroplane works. Our friends in big cities are treated better because their schools are not far from their homes. We walk every day to school, and it's tough.
Elsewhere, still inside Red Clay, Ibrahim shows the children around another installation. His claim to fame is his knack for recycled materials, like this monument he calls non-orientable in Kansa. He went round the country collecting boxes and tools used by shoemakers to put together this giant monument.
The people here, there are a lot of children who lack the opportunity. It's not as if they are not as intelligent as kids who live in the south. It's just that a lot of them, by their physical living within space, sometimes I've gone to schools where I'm talking to the kids about technological ideas, and you mention train, blah, 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 and they don't even know what a train is, because some of them might be living in farming communities where their parents don't even have TVs. So if they've never seen a train before, how can they even visualize this, and how can they imagine beyond that? So for me, it's also very important that we're able to build things outside the context of capital, where everyone expects that those things could be done.
Ibrahim has big plans to bring farms and other learning tools to Red Clay. But for the young people of Tamale, this is a shining light, one that offers hope and hopefully flies them closer to their dreams. Justice Baidu, JoyNews, Jenna in Tamale.
You're also watching Joy News Desk. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll have the latest from the world of business for you. Stay with us.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao, Chairperson of the Apiati Community Support Fund. Dr. Joyce I has been defending what many think is a delay in rebuilding the community several months since its destruction. According to her, the committee is building a model community. The committee is building a model community with all the necessary amenities. Dr. I spoke to Joy Business after the Ghana Revenue Authority donated 50,000 cedis to support the fund. Here's more in this report.
The development of the Apiachi community is expected to cost about 70 million cedis, according to preliminary report from the committee set up by government to oversee the entire development. According to the Ghana Revenue Authority, the 50,000 cedis is part of its corporate social responsibility to support the rebuilding, which will also revive economic activities in the area. Dominic Knapp is Assistant Commissioner at the Office of the Commissioner General of the GRA.
Organization charged with the responsibility of collecting revenue. And having also noticed or heard about the disaster that actually hit Apiati. And as part of our corporate social responsibility, we decided to actually contribute some money. Commissioner General decided to just bring some support, 50,000 Ghana cedis, to support assuage the suffering of the people of Apiatu. And as I said, it's part of our corporate social responsibility. And also note that that community is also a community we get taxes from. And now that they are down, we should also be able to help them, be able to come up to continue to engage in their economic activity. That is the essence of our being here.
Reacting to some criticisms that work on the reconstruction of the community has been slow, Chairperson of the Apiachi Development Support Fund, Dr. Joyce Aye, hinted that work is progressing steadily to ensure that an ultra-modern estate is built for the people.
They want an enhanced community, not just because it was wattle and daub, you just go and do that. No. They want to create a modern community with as many facilities as possible, and obviously perhaps even with an enhanced, how shall I say, social, not only the social amenities, but people had some kind of trading and so on that they need to do. Yes, yeah. So that's what they want to do. In fact, we have a company called Gensa that has decided to build a market, a very modern market.
Dr. Aye also used the occasion to express gratitude to the GRA for the support and called on other corporate bodies to do same.
Now, the Minister of Communications and Digitalization, Esther Usu-Ekufo, has reiterated the need for girls and women to be prioritized in the digitalization agenda. Speaking at the 7th Ghana Women of the Year Honors, Mrs. Usu-Ekufo promised to do everything in her capacity to ensure Ghanaian females are accommodated in the digital space. At the 7th Ghana Women of the Year Honors, the Minister of Communications and Digitalization, Esther Usu-Ekufo, was awarded Excellence in Governance Award. Upon receiving the recognition, she dedicated it to the next generation of digital specialists whom she believes will take over the world.
Gradually, we're raising a core of dedicated young people, women and girls who embrace technology and love it and want to make a career in it. And in the future, they are the ones who are going to be managing all these installations that we're putting in place. So it's exciting to be part of this drive to build the capacity of all our young girls, particularly, to be able to engage in this digital world that we find ourselves in. And we'll do whatever we can to create more room and space for them to also thrive.
The Ghana Women of the Year Honors was organized by Glitz Africa. Chief Executive Claudia Lumo explained the rationale behind the award scheme.
We set up this award really to celebrate Ghanaian women and to use the platform to inspire other young women. And we've done that this year, 7 years, and to see the platform getting stronger through also our She Summit and Leadership Breakfast Meeting, all of them coming together to strengthen women and encourage women and inspire women in the country has been amazing.
13 women in diverse sectors were honored at the event. And that's business. Sports is coming up next, so stay tuned.
Time for sports now, and Lawrence is already here in the studio with the latest. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
What do we have?
The UEFA Super Cup is on today. Real Madrid are the winners of the UEFA Champions League, and Eintracht Frankfurt won the UEFA Europa League. So they square off today at the Helsinki Stadium in Finland. Real Madrid and Frankfurt are meeting for the second time in the history of both clubs. Okay. In the first meeting, Frankfurt suffered a drubbing 7-3. That was some long years ago. So a new set of teams, new set of players, faces in the dugouts. It could be a cracking encounter between both sides. Frankfurt are a good side if you go to Germany. Although they finished 11th last season, their record in the Europa League was quite impressive. They beat one tough opponent and a rival of Real Madrid on their way to winning the Europa League. That Barcelona. Yeah, and then they beat Scottish champions Rangers in the final of the Europa League to also to seal their credentials as the champions of the tournament they played. Real Madrid, we all know what they did in the Champions League. I don't know. I won't call it luck, because if you watch the kind of ball they played against Manchester City, Chelsea, and then Liverpool, to some extent, they played one of the best balls they played under Carlo Ancelotti during those 3 fixtures they played. Some will argue that they didn't play well against Liverpool. I feel the game against Liverpool was more of a tactical display from the Italian. You watch a side steady, the Reds, they cool down, and then the only opportunity they had in the game, they were able to bury it. Tonight promises some good game. You see the lad who has just joined Real Madrid, that's Tchouaméni in action. Rudiger is also in there.
Okay, yeah.
It's likely both players might not start, because Ancelotti prefers to keep the same starting lineup that beats Liverpool.
Okay.
So for Madrid, it's just the old faces that will start the game. But at some point, we are likely to see Rudiger and then Tchouaméni enter the frame of it. You know, Tchouaméni has become the topic because of the price tag. But then I feel for such a young boy who has potentials, we shouldn't focus more on the price tag. It will just give him unnecessary pressure.
Anyway, but that's how discussions around football stars
Obviously
have become. Anyway, that's it for you in sport, and that's how we wrap up today's bulletin. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo. Brace to enjoy the rest of our shows. Have a great morning.